Hey, Brandon, I can kick it off if you like.
Sweet.
So, hey guys, my name is Bruce Ayler. Um, I graduated '89. I'm definitely the oldest guy here, judging by all the pictures. I graduated '89 undergrad, '91 grad. I was actually management science and then MBA. And my major career was and still is cybersecurity, primarily supporting DoD. And if anyone's familiar with the SIM platform, things like ArcSight/Splunk, if you've ever heard of anything like that. And recently that all changed about 6 months ago. I now find myself working for Microsoft. So that's an overall introduction. Pleasure meeting you all.
I can go next. I'm Chris Love, class of '07. I'm a real estate developer based in DC. Graduated tech with a minor in urban planning and a business degree, business management. Coming out of school, wanting to go into real estate development in 2007, there were very few options because of the financial crisis that kind of started unfolding at that time. So started in brokerage. I sold apartment buildings for a brokerage firm here in DC, and then went to work for UDR, which is one of the big apartment REITs, as a developer in DC. Shortly after that, worked for a Dutch family, placing their money into apartment developments in the DC metro area. And I've been with Capital City Real Estate for almost the last 2 years. I kind of cover a territory from, say, Northern Maryland down to Raleigh, Durham. And, my job is to source and put together apartment development deals.
I'm happy to go next. My name is Bryce Jackson. I think I've met a few guys before, but good to see some familiar faces. I joined Beta in 2016 as a member of the spring pledge class, then later went on to become treasurer and president in 2017 and 18, and then graduated with an accounting degree in December of 2018, and then started at B of A in February 2019. I sit in the debt capital markets group at B of A. Basically, we are primarily responsible for helping companies issue investment grade debt, mostly in bonds, but also preferred stock and a few other products as well.
Awesome. I can go next here. I know some of you older guys on the call right now, so good to see some familiar faces. My name's Andrew Dev. I graduated in 2020 with a degree in mechanical engineering from Tech. Pledged Beta a little bit late. It was my sophomore year, but then stuck around for a fifth year to finish up because I did a co-op. Did engineering and kind of did a bit of a career switch. I did a couple engineering internships. Wasn't really a fan of it. And wanted to get into like the tech space, and I want to try sales, and so I got an opportunity through a connection at Virginia Tech to go to Salesforce, and where I've currently been there. I did an internship there the summer before I graduated, and then I've been there for a little over a year now. So far it's been great. I'm specifically in the public sector. I just switched to the public sector space. I work specifically defense contractors, and basically I'm in business development, so I'm helping them just grow their current instance of Salesforce, basically spend more money with us and just help them digitally evolve, as a lot of these defense contractors are kind of in the dark ages with technology. So basically my job is to help the team go in and kind of figure out where they're having problems with their technology and where we can help them improve.
Hey, Chris, I can't hear you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I was talking to the other Chris. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. All right.
We'll give him 1 minute for the technical difficulties before we go to the next question. Sorry. Yeah, actually, we might as well just go ahead. We'll come back for him. So the next question is, what is something that you guys know now that you wish you knew before attending Business Horizons?
I can go ahead and take a stab at that one. So I think we used to do Business Horizons in the fall, and I guess now being on the other end of it, I see how much value, like finding good people is really important for an employer. It's something everyone struggles with. It's a really tight job market right now. So, I wish at that time I put myself out there more, talk to more people, been a little more confident, just going up to people, putting your resume out there, kind of telling your story, selling your story, because employers need good people.
I'm happy to jump in next. So, I mean, I think there's probably 3 or 4 things I would say. Definitely have like your resume ready to go and your elevator pitch prepared. Be ready to sell yourself as soon as you walk in the room. I would make sure that you know how to you're going to enter and exit that conversation. I think exiting that conversation is just as important as entering, right? Because no one wants to just have you linger there and awkwardly stand still. So make sure you're prepared going in for each conversation you have. And then don't limit yourself by what you do and don't see. I mean, I think oftentimes students at Tech think their opportunities are limited by who attends Business Horizons and who doesn't. And I don't think that's the case. So just because you see your dream company there or not there, just because you get that internship or maybe don't from Business Horizons doesn't mean that it's, the end all be all. And then use every single opportunity you can to get in front of people, because every interview, every conversation you have is going to prepare you for the next one. So I definitely think it's good to walk into that room, have a few warm-up conversations with, if you're a business major, with engineering firms or someone that you don't want to work for, or someone that is not going to hire you. And then that way you're ready to go for the interviews that do matter, and take every interview you can, right? Because they're all going to prep you for the next one. And then finally, I would say, definitely don't feel discouraged if you don't end up with your internship or job following Business Horizons, because there's plenty of opportunities to get jobs. And I think oftentimes students put too much pressure on themselves to get one through Business Horizons. But there's endless opportunities to find those outside of that one event.
Yeah, I just want to second that, especially about if a company you like is not a Business Horizons or your engineering fair or whatever it may be, definitely don't let that discourage you from applying. I think the power of networking was something that was kind of lost to me, and that didn't really get instilled in me until after or the very end of college. Is just go on LinkedIn and look up the company you want to work at and Virginia Tech and type in LinkedIn, and it'll pop up a ton of people that work there. So using LinkedIn and using networking is a really easy way to break into companies where they might not really know much about Virginia Tech or have a footprint at Business Horizons.
Yeah, I wish I had advice for you guys. I don't, but Business Horizons is a new vernacular to me. We didn't have that when I was there. And I just Googled it and looking it up. It looks like you have certain dates for job fairs, and some dates are dedicated to employers and some look like they may have multiple. So is that right?
Yeah, so where we were kind of getting with the question, we can reword it for just what would you do before preparing for any interview? Because Business Horizons is essentially a way to interview briefly with a lot of the top companies all within the same day, as they're all in the same place, and then give out resumes, and then from that point we apply to them.
It's your standard career fair, Bruce.
Yeah,
That's what I would imagine.
Using all these big words on me, Horizons. I mean, I think back to my original interviews, even the ones that I had on campus. The ones that went well were the ones for me that got into not deep, they were less soft, where we actually talked about specific skills and talked about specific applications. So for management science, that was pretty easy. I wasn't real keen on the soft interviews. So I tried to bring up as often as possible the most tangible experiences, even though, you know, you can't be expected to have a lot right now, except for perhaps those of you who've been through a co-op opportunity. Bring as many tangible experiences as you can, even if they're case studies or anything like that that you've applied to within class, and try and drive it to soft. Probably isn't the right word, but you know, try and add some detail.
All right, sweet. Thank you guys for those responses. Very insightful, especially with the networking through LinkedIn. I think that's like something that's really overlooked and super important. So another question that I've got for you guys is there any sort of technology or emerging tool that you guys use in your work that you think would be beneficial for the undergraduates to start getting familiar with?
Yeah, I'm happy to go. Oh, sorry, was someone else speaking? Okay.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I'm happy
go
to
ahead.
jump in. I mean, thanks. I mean, I think in my field, I mean, we don't do much coding or anything like that. I mean, I definitely think there's value in learning that, or at least having some sort of fundamental base knowledge of kind of what's going on there. But I think in finance, in my field specifically, like I think the more time you spend in front of Excel and Bloomberg, the better you're going to be. I mean, like clearly you're going to learn a lot once you're on the job, but having a good sort of baseline knowledge is a good way to separate yourself in interviews, but also a good way to separate yourself once you actually get the internship. And those are available in pamphlets, so definitely recommend just playing around on those. That would kind of be my two things.
Yeah, and I would go with something a little more broad. You know, I think for me, I kind of live and die by my calendar. So we use Google Calendar at Salesforce. I think just having a very, you know, I didn't use it at all in college. I know some people did. So if you are already using it, that's great. But you kind of have to use that in the you know, in the workplace. So getting good at that early on is huge. You know, I think also just general communication tools. I use Slack every day. You know, getting to know those things like Teams or Slack or whatever you might use for your school projects, things like that. I think getting to know those really well have helped me a lot as well.
Yeah, and I'll add that, like I said, when I finished up my intro, I'm with Microsoft now. And the only reason I went to Microsoft, leaving from purely cybersecurity into Microsoft, I could have gone anywhere probably. I could have gone to Amazon, could have gone to Google, even Oracle has a cloud. I really do believe that you're starting to see a long line of folks marching into the cloud, into actually taking on hybrid instances where they they don't want to be vendor specific, and they leverage multiple clouds for multiple things. Everything from running databases to the fun stuff, which is like the AI and the ML stuff. So what I would say is, and it always absolutely blows me away, if you're in the tech field, we can go into this more later, but if you're in the tech field and you think you're going to do anything that could be done on the cloud at some point, it blows me away how much free training, and I know everyone's busy as hell, but the free training and even the certifications that you can get, pick your cloud, and it's fantastic pathways to learn on your own. Once again, gives you a bit of a differentiator and gives you lots of experience. Now, I don't even know, for the students in the room, I don't know if you have any access, for the technical ones, if you have access to the cloud now, if tech is leveraging anything. I'm sure they are, but yeah, strongly recommend if you have any interest in anything that can go on the cloud, if you can get cloud proficient, that's not going to hurt you at all.
I don't think this is an emerging technology, but I'm a big fan of Outlook. I've used that ever since I graduated, and just think the calendar is a great tool. You know, the email function is what it is. And, you know, Bruce, kind of welcome your thoughts there if there's something better, but I've always been a big fan of the Outlook calendar. I think it's a great way to stay in touch with people and follow up with people.
It's crazy in Microsoft land, the number of apps that are coming out that we're using internally are pretty neat. Outlook and Teams, but the other one that I use, I can't not use, is OneNote. If you haven't messed around with OneNote, give that a look. It's just a fantastic way to essentially keep notes. for every single thing you do. You don't have to write anything down ever again. You have access to it at your fingertips no matter what. For example, if you're setting, for example, when I have a meeting with a customer, it integrates directly with Notes. I go into Notes, it creates a page, lists all the attendees, takes that from the Outlook, and gives you a nice place to keep the notes and cut and paste anything you want. So OneNote is definitely something very, very fun and productive.
Sweet. So I'd like to pass it back to DeVito now. You good with your audio?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah, we're
Okay,
good
there we
now.
go. Sorry, I don't work from home or virtually, so I struggle a little bit getting my equipment to work for these things. In terms of programs, I definitely agree. Like during college, we all used Gmail through our VT emails, and before that, we had personal Gmails. And as soon as I accepted in my role, everything was Microsoft Outlook. So it's definitely like a adjustment period, especially getting good with using Outlook, learning how to like flag, store, and manage different emails. So I think, what I did, I just watched some YouTube videos to learn how to really sort emails really good through Outlook. But Teams as well, just echoing all the Microsoft products are primarily used, I feel like, and really good to get an early hands-on experience with.
All right, sweet. So the next question that I have for you guys is, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew when you were our age that could have helped you accelerate your career more quickly?
Yeah, for me, guys, it's definitely that networking doesn't stop once you get the internship or the full-time offer, right? Like networking is ultimately how you advance yourself throughout your career, and it works both ways, right? It works up and down. I think one of the struggles I had early on with one of my internships is that I didn't put myself out there more. Once I actually secured the internship, I was great about getting coffee and talking to people pre-offer, but then once I got my offer and started to actually grind for 10 weeks, I just kind of put my head down and thought my work would speak for itself. But you really do need people on your side fighting for you at every turn. So make sure that when you do secure that internship, you reach back out to people you met before, and you continue to network with those folks and continue to meet more people up the food chain.
I would say the same. Definitely the networking. I didn't really leverage too much networking coming out of school. But what I didn't mention was in all my roles, it started off as high tech, as technical, on the ground, hands on the keyboards, deploying and so forth, and then morphing into sales. And I think what I would say is this: I could not imagine going into a sales role without being the user first, without being 100% comfortable, tons of experience with whatever you're selling in IT. Because for me personally, once I got to that level, I started off deploying at really cool places of this fun product at the FBI, DOJ, a whole bunch of places. And I was essentially what we call them is the solutions engineer, right? And you're the one who's doing all the work. You're not the sales guy going in, but you're doing the work and learning everything and staying one step ahead of the customer throughout deployments. And I got to tell you, that was by far the best experience for me, because while I worked hard doing that for many years and then morphed into sales, the thing is once you get into the sales and you have that experience, you easily get trusted advisor status with whatever level of customer you talk to, whether it be the person sitting in the seats or the C-suite who's making the financial decisions and so forth. So to me, I kind of Forrest Gumped my way into that. But I tell anyone who will listen, if you want to get into IT, then learn and get into IT sales. learn it, become an expert prior. Don't put the pressure on yourself of being a salesperson right off the bat if you don't know it. There's things with quotas. Well, I don't know how Andrew knows all this with Salesforce, right? But everything with quotas and the pressure that can be put on with you trying to chase a number and trying to learn products and try to woo customers is very, very difficult. So take the time in the beginning of your career to become an expert in whatever field you're choosing, and then you're going to skyrocket.
One thing kind of in real estate development, there's the sourcing acquisition side where you're tying up dirt, financing it, designing a project, getting it rezoned. Then there's the execution side where you're, working to get the plans drawn, working with the contractor to get it priced, and then kind of pushing it through permitting and approvals. I didn't have a lot of that execution experience early in my career. And, I found that did sort of trip me up in later stages when, job opportunities came my way. I didn't have the boots on the ground type experience. I had higher level experience. So kind of echo what Bruce said, I think really dive in, your first job, second job, get granular, understand the field, understand the subject matter, really dig into the basics. And that'll pay, massive dividends down the road. One other, thought I had was just, interview. If you're approached by a headhunter, you guys have done a great job with the LinkedIn, networking to date. I think, a few of you guys have added me on LinkedIn, and I think that's great. I never really did that, but, people who do it, headhunters reach out to them. You could be at a job a year out of school, somebody will reach out to you, they'll want to interview. Go do it. Sure, stay, they're not offering you a job just yet. There's no tough decision, but if anything, you meet somebody, it's networking, but it'll tell you what you're worth and you'll learn something from it. So I think, as opportunities come your way, don't be afraid to check them out.
Yeah, I think to add on to that as well, make sure you're still focusing on like personal, professional development, updating your resume as you gain new experiences, pulling kind of your job description and what you've done on a certain aspect of your individual role within your company and add those skills to your resume. Because a lot of people like around my age that have been working for a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years out of school, they look back to try to move into a new position in a new company and they realize they haven't updated their resume since college. And it's a lot harder to pull that information from your previous roles than to update it as you go through and you gain those new experiences.
All right. So at this point, I would like to just open up a general question. Like if anyone had a specific question off of what any of the alumni said, you can feel free to ask it now before I send us into the breakout rooms.
All right, I have a question. Is that Thomas Starnes? Are you on?
Yeah,
Is your dad a Beta?
yeah, he is.
Hockey fan?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw you guys at a game a couple of years ago. I went to school with your dad.
Yeah, he was at the game on Friday.
He was here this weekend. He never came by. Tailgate.
Yeah.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us old guys here this weekend, this past weekend. I'm so old, my daughter just started engineering at Tech this year. A lot of fun. All right, that does it for my questions.
Does she know what kind of engineering she wants to study?
She thinks it's going to be, she wants to follow dad and go into computer or cyber. But computer is the only option right now. But I don't know. We'll see. Her cousin my nephew is in the new one, the biomed one. That's kind of fun. And I think she's also got a hankering for mechanical too. So we'll see what happens after how she, I guess you guys, I wasn't in engineering, but from what I gathered, those of you engineers out there, I guess you determine your fate after your first freshman year of grades. You have the ability to choose where you go based on your success, I guess, or you have more options. So who knows?
I have a question. So, Business Horizons tomorrow, like, obviously there's always so many people who go and the lines are sometimes long, so you don't have much time to talk to these people. So what would you say is the most important thing that we should say, like in our little elevator pitches, that would make us come across as like good candidates for maybe internships?
Yeah, I mean, I think someone hit on it, but I would make sure that you point out some of the more material aspects of your resume, right? Like not just necessarily like, you know, how you would handle certain situations or kind of what you're, you know, hypothetically going to do. Like I would make sure that you point out like what is unique about you, what separates you. Then also like I would not put a ton of emphasis on those 30-second elevator pitches. Like if you think you have a good conversation with somebody or just a quick one or don't get enough time, like I think it's very okay to send them an email asking to maybe grab a quick coffee later. Just said, hey, had a great conversation with you. Would love to continue it. You know, are you available to hop on the phone, something like that? Especially if it's a firm you really want to work for. I would make sure that you don't just leave it all on a 30-second elevator pitch. Feel free to follow up and, you know, try to keep a connection going.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, keep it conversational. Like, you know, I'm at the age where a lot of my friends will not, back when I was a fifth year, a lot of my friends were coming back right before COVID started to do those career fairs. And, you know, they're complaining to me how it sucks. They're there all day and they're hearing these like robot kids talk to them all day about how they want to work for the company. And if you can just like, you know, make it more conversational and less robotic, like you're reading off a script about your elevator pitch as to why you think you'd be a good fit. Like they'd rather have, you know, a real conversation that's kind of, you know, I don't know, find a common connection, something like that. Don't make it too like just spitting off facts from your resume, that type of thing. You know, definitely see where you have other connections with them and make, you know, make them enjoy the conversation because they're, you know, they usually aren't enjoying talking to people for that many hours of the day. So I think if you can make it conversational and not too like reading off a script, that'll make them enjoy it a lot more. And then I agree with the follow-up, you know, I bet you like 90% of those kids in the line, that long line, don't follow up and 10% do. Just a guess, but if you do that, then, you know, that'll really set you apart through LinkedIn or email or whatever.
I definitely agree with what Andrew's saying. That's a really good point. I don't know if it's been said yet, but something I would recommend is what I would do was go to a company that, you know, maybe you don't really, you know, it's not one of your top choices for an internship that maybe doesn't have a long line first, and use that as kind of a warm up to get relaxed, to feel more comfortable. And then once you're like feeling good in the flow, more confident, then go ahead and step up to those tables that maybe are a little bit more of a stretch for you to get a position or one of your top like companies that you want to work for. That way you're a little bit more dialed in.
Yeah, all that is awesome, 100%. Shows somehow you have some differentiator, but it looks like tomorrow's a career fair, so there's going to be lots of companies there, I suppose. That's really cool. But if you can get a list of who the top 5 are that you want to talk to, or 10. Also, if you can take 2 seconds, leverage LinkedIn or whatever, and just find out something cool that they do that marries with something that you've done, and say, hey, I've always wondered what it would be like to do so and so. I understand you're in that field, or something along that lines. And everything else is fantastic too. The follow-ups, personal follow-ups are awesome. Show a differentiator, and yeah, try and bring some facts to the table and be personable all at the same time, and do all of that in 3 minutes. Whoever said go to one you don't care about first, that's fantastic. Fantastic. That was you, Chris. That was fantastic advice. Go warm up with a couple others. But
I'd
the
say
top that
that-
you want to go to, do a little bit of research.
I would do more than just a little bit of research, right? Like actually do a lot of research on the companies that are in your top 5 people that you really want to go to, because what that research will help you with is asking intelligent questions when it comes to having a conversation with them about their company. And they'll ultimately, they'll ask you a bunch of questions about yourself, but then they're going to, at some point in the conversation, they're going to say, well, what questions do you have for me about our company? Right. And then how intelligent or thoughtful those questions are is going to tell them how much prep you did. Right. And if you can say well, I really liked this about your company, right? I felt like it drives really well with these objectives that I have, or these things I'm looking to learn, right? Tell me more about this particular aspect. That lets them know that you were actually serious about coming and checking out their company, and that you did your homework and you did your research. And that's going to communicate a lot about the value that you would have with whatever work that you would do for that particular company. So know that the type of questions you ask, you're still getting interviewed when you're asking questions. And the research that you do about the company is going to help you ask really thoughtful, intelligent questions.
I'd say back to the 90% thing that someone threw out earlier, probably 90% of the people say they don't have questions. So that's a really good differentiator when you put some thought into it and have a couple questions. All good stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've found that works out pretty well, like going off what you guys said. So is there any other questions before we open up the networking breakout rooms? All right, well, I'll go ahead and start making them. Just give me 1 to 2 minutes to get that finalized.